Hi everyone, this is Norris Tony coming back to y'all with another video. I'm going to start out by reading in my prayer book, Walk in Faith. I'm going to read a Bible verse and I'm going to read a prayer. Bring my soul out of prison, that I may praise thy name. The righteous shall compass me about, for thou shalt deal. Verse 7. Here's the prayer. I am human and I am weak. Sometimes I don't believe that even God can help me. My faith is gone and all seems lost. But God stays, reminding me that faith is a seed within that needs only a tiny bit of nurturing to grow again. God remains, showing me that even when I am faithless in Him, He is faithful to me. I'm going to read an article. It's from APnews.com. It's called Tory Lanez Denied New Trial in Megan Thee Stallion Shooting. That's them right here, Tory and Megan. But a Los Angeles judge on Tuesday denied a motion for a new trial from lawyers for rapper Tory Lanez, who was convicted of 3 felonies in December for shooting hip hop star Megan Thee Stallion in the feet and wounding her. Superior Court Judge Herringford rejected arguments from lawyers for Lanez that evidence was wrongly admitted at the trial he presided over. He said that the exclusion of the disputed evidence would not have made a difference at the trial. Lanez, 30, whose legal name is Daystar Peterson, will now be sentenced for convictions of assault with a semi-automatic firearm, having a loaded, unregistered firearm in a vehicle, and discharging a firearm with gross negligence. He could get up to 22 years in prison and faces deportation to his native Canada. As he was led from the courtroom back to jail after a hearing on the motion a day earlier, he pleaded with Harry Ford to help him, saying, I could be your son, I could be your brother. Bullcrap. Motions for a new trial filed immediately afterward with the same judge are a common prosecutor to appealing to a higher court, which Lane's attorneys plan to do. The motions are very rarely successful. Lane's lawyers asserted that a post from his Instagram account was improperly admitted into evidence. They said that Megan's testimony that Lane's urged her not to go to the police because he was on parole and would be in serious trouble was both untrue and an improper allowance of prior bad acts. And they said DNA evidence that prosecutors used to argue Lanez was the likely shooter fell well short of industry standards. Lane's attorneys were disappointed from the start of Monday's all-day oral arguments on their motion. They had an elaborate presentation prepared, complete with audio visuals and witnesses, but Herringford would have none of it. Is this insisting instead on narrow legal arguments on the precise issues raised, the norm for such motions in California court? They pleaded at length with Herringford to allow them to present their arguments in the way they had planned. I feel that I would be ineffective if we proceeded, defense attorney Jose Benz said. Mr. Peterson has the right to due process for which he is entitled. They moved on under protest and later filed a motion to have the judge disqualified. Lane's lawyers who did not represent him at trial said the attorney who did, George, I don't know how to say his last name, so I'm just going to say George M., made mistakes in his case because he was given so little time to prepare before trial when the rapper's previous attorney dropped out. Megan Thee Stallion, whose legal name is Megan Pete, testified that Lanez fired a handgun at the back of her feet and shouted for her to dance as she walked away from an SUV in which they had been riding in the Hollywood Hills in the summer of 2020. Lawyer M said at trial that Megan was lying in her testimony and that Lanez had not pulled the trigger. He said afterward that there was not significant evidence to convict. As it was throughout the trial, the courtroom was full of media and Lanez fans and family members, with many more outside in the hallway. The shooting and the trial set off a storm of cultural issues and arguments that peaked during the trial, including the reluctance of Black victims to speak to police, the protection of Black women, gender, politics, and hip-hop, and online toxicity. After the verdict was read in December, Lane's father, Song Star Peterson, stood and denounced the wicked system that led to his son's conviction and had to be wrestled from the courtroom. No sentencing date has been set. Lane's began releasing mixtapes in 2009 and saw a steady rise in popularity, moving on to major label albums. His last two reached the top 10 on Billboard's charts. Megan Thee Stallion was already a major rising star at the time of the shooting, and her prominence has surged since. She won a Grammy for Best New Artist in 2021, and she had number one singles on the Billboard Hot 100 with her own song Savage, featuring Beyonce, and as a guest on Cardi B's WAP. Okay, so that's the end of the article. I think the judge did a good job, denying the new trial. The judge did the right thing because the judge know that, the evidence was good enough to, put Tory behind bars, convict him, because that's where he belongs. Tory, pint-sized Lanez, has a history of violence. He has a history of putting his hands on people, and when things don't go his way, he take action, wrongful action against them. So like I said, what he did to Megan was the worst. He did shoot her, so he was irresponsible, and he has nobody to blame but himself. And the judge, and he gonna tell the judge, "Oh, I could be your son, I could be your brother." And then I heard on the internet in another article, he asked, "Please don't destroy my life by making me by sentencing me." First of all, Tory, you destroyed your own life when you pulled that trigger. That gun was not registered. Plus, you didn't even need to have a gun at that time. You was irresponsible. You had no business pulling it out. The situation didn't call for that. It was unnecessary. So you got yourself to blame. So be a man, take accountability for your actions, and move on. Because you had no business doing what you did. Nobody made you do it or held your hand. You decided to do that on your own. You made your own choice. You do the crime, you do the time. The minimum amount of time he can get, I believe, is 9 years. The maximum is 22. So in my opinion, he should do in between 9 and 22, period. He should not get no more than 22, and he should not get no less than 9, period. 9 to 22 years, I think, is a good appropriate time for him to spend in prison or behind bars, because what he did was wrong, and he could have hurt that girl worse. He lucky that he didn't do her no worse and that she recovered. Physically, but mentally, that's got to be traumatizing for her. Megan ain't never had nothing like that happen to her. And for this little chipmunk to sit up there and do what he did, that's unacceptable. So yes, I'm glad the judge denied him a new trial. Now it's time for sentencing. We don't know how much or the date or how much time he'll get, but I'll be waiting and I will be reporting. Or I will, look for the article and read it to y'all. I will bring the news. But until then, Tory Littlefoot Lanez need to stay his leprechaun-looking ass behind bars where he belongs. He don't deserve to be a free man. He don't need to be out on the streets because he's a threat to society. He's a danger to society. Like I said, he don't know how to control himself or his emotions. He have little man syndrome. And I wonder what Papa Smurf got to say now, or should I say, Daddy Leprechaun, song star, what he got to say now. I'll be waiting on him because I know he gonna respond. I know he gonna freak out when it come to that sentencing. But like I said, Tory deserves to be behind bars. Sentence him. Throw away the key. Throw the little mother sucker away. Throw him away. Better yet, Tory Lanez need to be shipped need to be put in a box and shipped back to Canada where he belongs and let him do his time in Canada, in Canadian jail. So deport him and get that menace out of our country for good. And ban him from the United States. Because like I said, he has done nothing. He's put out music. I heard good music, but outside of that, he's been more violent. He's committed more violence than anything. So he's not a role model for anybody, and he has not set a good example for anyone, including his children. I think he got more. I know he got one child. I think he has more than one child, but still, the man needs to grow up. He needs to grow up. And he needs to be made an example out of. He needs to be made an example out of. So throw him behind bars, teach him a lesson, and hopefully he'll learn from this. From all his bad actions and decision making. But that's all I have to say. I hope you all like, comment, subscribe, share the video. Please like the video because it helps my channel. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, share. Thanks for watching. I hope you all have a good night. Peace.